Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. I'm going to start 3 lines from the top of Tez Zion Amar Aleph. Amar Rav Chanan Amar Rav. Rav Chanan said in the name of Rav. The Brisa on the top said, talking about a bed. How is Makabel Tumah? If it's complete, it's Makabel Tumah completely, and you matar it in one piece. And the Chachamim say that you can be it come tumah in sections, and you could make a tahar in sections. So the Gemara wants to know ma'inenu. What are the sections? Amar Rav Chanan Amar Rav, arucha ushtei karayim, the long section of the bed. The bed is a rectangle, 2 long pieces and 2 narrow pieces, and in between you have the ropes that held the mattress together. So if you have 1 long side and 2 legs, or katsora, a short side, ushtei karayim, and 2 legs, that's called a part of the bed. The mai chajia, what can you use that for? If you only have half of it, what can you use the bed for? So the Gemara says, the misnachinu aguda, you can put it against the wall, support the other end of the bed against the wall, and the lemesa v'layu umishta the ishle, and you could put something on it and lay on the bed. Amrav Ami Barav Tivyuni, Sichacha Bebloi Kalim, Psula. If you used worn out garments from pieces of cloth from a garment that was worn out, Psula, it's possible. Even though the garments themselves, the pieces are less than 3 tefachim by 3 tefachim, they're still possible. My beloy kalim, what does it mean? Pieces of kalim that are used, that are worn out. Amar Abaya, matlonius shehem b'hem shlosh al shlosh. A strip of cloth that it is not 3 tefachim by 3 tefachim. Because less than 3 tefachim by 3 tefachim can't be used for anything as not makabel tum. Okay? The lochazian lo lianiyam v'lo lashiram. It's not used for a poor person or a rich person. The aniyam would use a piece of cloth that was 3 by 3 to patch their garments. Anything less than 3 by 3 is not used for anybody.
Not even for a baby?
I guess not. I guess not.
It's not big enough to be a diaper, and there's no other function.
No, like a patch 2 by 2 by 2, and then you got a half a diaper.
You have half a diaper. Okay.
When you're incontinent, how do you have a diaper?
Okay, make sure you do it.
Tanya gave us the Ravami Bartivyon. So I'm going to bring a proof from a brisa to Ravami Bartivyoni, because it says, Marcellus, a mat shall shifa v'shel gemi, made of shifa, some sort of vegetative material. You had a big mat, shioreha, and you cut out a piece, so you only have a remnant. Shioreha, it's remnant. Afal pisha nifchaschu mikshiurel, even though this remnant has been reduced to a shear of less than 3 tefachim by 3 tefachim, so it's not makabel tumah. Ein mesachim b'hem. You cannot use that piece to be as chak, because like Ravami Bar Tovuni said, it came from the bigger beged that was makabel tumah. The Gemara goes on and says, Machshavas akonim, a mat made of reeds, gedola nesachim ba. If it's a very large mat, you can use it for schach. Katana, if it's a small mat, ein nesachim ba, you cannot use it for schach. Rebbe Lezer says, af he mekabelas tuma. Even a large mat is mekabel tuma, the ein mesachim ba, and therefore you cannot use the large mat as schach.
The
Well, so we don't know here about the kavana,
large mats were typically made for flooring.
right?
And therefore,
Large mats.
made them in a metabel tumor. If you were to make this large mat, not that for the purpose of stock, that's what the Tanakh meant when he says a large mat may be used because it was made l'shem stock. And we go back to the keys, tying it together doesn't matter. The fact that it's woven together doesn't matter if it's made.
Right. So the Gemara goes on to the Mishnah said, Chotes begodesh. If somebody has a haystack and he howls out the haystack and wants to use that as a sukkah, so the Mishnah said it's not a valid sukkah. So Rav Huna said, Lo shana ela she'ein sham chalal tefach. That ruling of the Mishnah that's not that emptied out haystack is not valid for a sukkah is only when there was no challah, there was no space of a tefach between inside. Okay, the meshach shiva and 7 tefachim long. So you have 7 tefachim wide and one tefach high. If you have such a space in the haystack, then from the beginning, then you can then if you howled it out, it would be good for a soul.
No,
It's not Tassim Minosri because the one tefach is a mokum, and 1 tefach by 7 is a mokum kosher already.
No, remember we had, if the sukkah is too low, you could out the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So here you have
a hollow in the haystack, and the roof was put on above that space. Now all you're doing is increasing
the space to make it more to make it the thing.
No, it's that when the hay was put on top of the hollow, there
was kosher schach there because there was a space of tefach, empty space between the schach and the rest of the goddess. Okay. Right. So, but if there was this tefach b'meshach seva, then harei zeh sukkah. Okay. So the Gemara says Tanya nami hachi. We also learned this in a brisa to substantiate Rav Huna's teaching. Achoitit begodesh lasais loy sukkah. Somebody who howls out a haystack to make a sukkah. Harei zeh sukkah. That's a valid sukkah. The Gemara says, wait a minute. V'anan tanan, but we have another. We learned in our Mishnah einu sukkah. It is not a sukkah. So we have a contradiction between our Mishnah that says it's not good and the brisa says it is. Elalav shema mina k'Rav Rav Huna. That the answer is, like Rav Huna said, that where it's good is talking about where you have a chalal, a space of a tefach, and 7 tefachim wide. That's good. If you don't have that, then like our Mishnah says, it's possible. So the Gemara says shema mina. That's a good proof. The Gemara says ika derami le mirma. There's some that learn this piece of Gemara differently, and the Gemara said like this. The Gemara asked the kasha between our Mishnah and the brisa. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, somebody who digs out, howls out the haystack to make the sukkah is not a sukkah. Vaha, Sanya, but we learned in a brisa, arezeh sukkah. So how do we answer the kasha? Rav Huna lo kasha. Rav Huna said there's no kasha between our Mishnah and the Brisa. Kam b'shyesh lo cholol tefach b'mesha shiva, where you have a cholol tefach, a space, a cavity of a tefach, and 7 tefachim, 7 length of 7 tefachim. Kam b'shein lo cholol tefach b'mesha shiva, and you don't have the space of a tefach and 7 tefachim long. Okay. Then more goes on to the next Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Hamashal shel defanos milamala lamata." Somebody has a frame, the frame for the wall of the sukkah, and he starts weaving a wall down. So he's mishalshel, he's weaving the wall down from the top of the frame to make the wall. So that's mishalshel defanos milamala lamata. So im gavoa min ha'oretz shlosha tvachim psula, and he weaves the wall down, but it doesn't go all the way down to the ground. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough rope to weave it. There's a space of more than 3 tvachim between the bottom of the wall and the ground. So the Mishnah says it's possible. Why is it possible? Because it's not lowered to the ground. More than 3 tvachim. Lowered has to be within 3 tvachim. So therefore, the wall doesn't go all the way down to the ground. Milamata lamala. So he starts weaving the wall from the bottom of the frame going upward, and he doesn't have enough. So im gavoya sorat tvachim kshera. If he weaved the wall of 10 tefachim high, which is the minimum shear that a wall has to be, because the sukkah the minimum shear of the sukkah is 10 tefachim, right? So you have he made a wall of 10 tefachim, even though the schach is another 5 tefachim up, or 5 amas, or whatever it is, the Mishnah says sheva. Why is it kosher? Because you have a wall that's 10 tefachim, and we have the concept before, a good achas. The wall, it's a valid wall, continues up to the end of to the schach. But if you didn't have you're going up, good achas is going up, and good asik is going up, and good achas is going down.
What's the difference? It's either good options.
Okay. It's good. Rav Yoshi says, "Kashem shalomala from lamala lamata asar tvachim." Just like when you're building the wall, you're making it from bottom up to the top. You need 10 tvachim. So kach, the same thing is true. Lamata asar. If you have a wall and you made this wall 10 tefachim, even though there's a lot more space between the wall and the ground, it's also kosher, because you would say the wall goes down. Once you have a valid wall, it's kosher. That's Rav Yoshi's opinion. So the Gemara says, "But my kamiflaki." What do the Tanna Kama and Rav Yoshi argue in? So Mar Savar, Rav Yossi holds mechitza tluya materis. That mechitza tluya means a suspended partition, a hanging wall. And this is what we have here. The wall is hanging from either from the top or from the bottom. It doesn't go all the way down to the ground or to the top. Okay, so it's a hanging wall. Mechitza tluya materis. And it's valid for a sukkah and for Shabbos. And Mar Savar, the Tanna Kama holds that mechitza tluya einu materis. A mechitza tluya is not a valid partition, and therefore it's not a valid as a wall for a schach, and it's not valid as a separation on Shabbos. And now the Gemara is going to bring a Mishnah in Eruvin that talks about the concept of mechitza tluya, and the Gemara is going to tell you the Mishnah is going to tell you the following case: a bor shebein shtei chatzeros. You have two courtyards, and there's a wall between the two courtyards, and the two courtyards have not made an area between them, and in between the two courtyards there's a bore, there's a pit filled with water. Okay, so the Mishnah over there says, "Ein memalim mimena b'Shabbos." You cannot draw water. Either courtyard, the people from standing on either courtyard cannot draw water from the pit on Shabbos. Ellen came also lo mechitza asor tvachim, unless you make a valid mechitza that's 10 tvachim high. Bein milamala, either above the pit, bein milamata, or in the pit below in the pit, bein metok ogno, or within the lip of the pit. So it's hanging, it goes right across the edge of the pit, you have a mechitza. Okay. And the Brisa goes on, the Mishnah goes on, it says, Rav Shimon Gamliel said that this is an argument on the top of Tezainu base between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says, Milamala, if you have a petition above, that's good. Beis Hillel omrim milamata. And Beis Hillel says the petition has to be in the water below.
I just want to make sure. So Beis Hillel does not hold from Beis Shammai up. He only not both.
He holds you have to have the mechitza has to be in the pit,
Not on top.
not on top.
And vice versa by Beis Shammai.
Yeah, Shulchan
Right.
brings.
Right.
Shulchan
That's correct.
brings-
Beis Shammai holds it has to be above. It has to be above. Right.
Shulchan Aruch brings, you can do it either way,
Right.
but you have to have an extra tefach. So if you hold that you can put the petition inside the well, it has to stick out over the water level, one tefach. Or if it's suspended above the well, it has to descend into the well, one tefach.
Okay,
That's what's brought in Shulchan Aruch.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says in the Mishnah a different view. Lote mechitza gadola min a kosa shepaneim. All you need is there's a wall running between the two chatzeros that runs right over the top of the bore. And that itself, that partition, that mechitza is you don't need anything else other than that partition. You don't need a separate wall within the well or on the lip of the well. That's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabba Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda, Beshitas Rabbi Yossi Amra. That Rabbi Yehuda goes like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah says that a mechitza tluya, a hanging mechitza, the wall of the schach is kosher. And Rabbi Yehuda, who says over here by Shabbos that this mechitza, why is it hanging? Because the mechitza is going over the bore. So it doesn't go down into the bore, so it's hanging. That's a mechitza tluya. Huh?
Yeah, but he says he doesn't bother even holding. He just says once there's a wall, there's a wall.
Right. I mean, so the Gemara wants to say that's the argument that so the Gemara wants to say that right. So the Gemara answers no. The Gemara says no. Velohi, it's not true. You don't have to say that. Lo Rabbi Yehuda Sabar Laka Rabbi Yossi. You don't have to say the Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yossi. The low Rabbi Yossi and not Rabbi Yossi Sabar Laka Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Gemara is going to explain why. Lo Rabbi Yehuda Sabar Laka Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't necessarily have to hold like Rabbi Yossi. Ad kan lo kam Rabbi Yehuda Hasam ela baruve chatzeres drabanan. We're talking about over there that them is the two chatzers are Rishus Rab, are Rishus Yachid. So you don't really need an Erev. It's a Chumrah Rabbanan that you have to make an Erev. So the whole concept of Ruch Hatzeres is only the Rabbanan. So Rabbi Huda would say over there, you want to be able to use the bor, a Chutzah Tuluya would be good. Avahacha by Sukkah, but the Araisa, where it's a positive commandment to eat in the Sukkah, you have to have a valid mechitza, and a mechitza Tuluya would not be good. Low. Okay. Velo Rabbi Yossi Sabar Laka Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi would not necessarily have to agree like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Because Ad Kan Lo Kama Rabbi Yossi Hacha Ela B'Sukkah. Rabbi Yossi says that Mechitza Tuluya is good by Sukkah. The mitzvahs Asehu. It's a positive commandment. So all you need is a Mechitza Tuluya.
You made a wall.
And make a wall. Avol Shabbos, the Isser Skila, but Shabbos, when you're talking about carrying in an area that is an Isser Skila, so he would say you need a wall that's not Tuluya. The Gemara says, the Im Tamar, and if you will ask, Maisa Shanasa Bit Sipuri, there was a Maisa that took place in Sipuri where they used a suspended wall, a Mechitza Tuluya on Shabbos, Al Pi Mi Nasa. Who was this done according to? In Sipuri, the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the city, was Rav Yossi. So, and if you're saying that Rav Yossi holds that on Shabbos and Mechitza Tuluya is not good, so then who did they pass him like? That's the Gemara's kasha. Al pi mi nasa. The Gemara says lo al pi Rav Yossi. You're right. It was not done in accordance with Rav Yossi's authority. Ella al pi Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. It was done on the basis of the authority of Rabbi Yossi's son Rabbi Shmuel. All right. In other words, Rabbi Shmuel misunderstood what his father was saying. So now the Gemara relates to Maisa. What was the Maisa? Ki also Rabdimi, when Rabdimi came from Babel to Eretz Yisrael, he said, Pam acha shaklu v'lo yaviu sefer Torah me'erev Shabbos. They forgot to bring. They didn't leave the sefer Torahs in the shul, so they had to bring the sefer Torah before Shabbos. One Shabbos, they forgot to bring the sefer Torah. So Pam acha shaklu v'lo yaviu sefer Torah me'erev Shabbos, and lemachar the next day. Pirsu Sadidin al Gabi Amudim. So there was no walls in chutzner between the house that the Sefer Torah was in and the shul. So the Brisa says the Machar Shabbos in the morning, Pirsu Sadidin al Gabi Amudim. They hung sheets on the post. They hung sheets on the posts. There were posts with lines on it. They hung sheets up, and they now had a wall from the house where the Sefer Torah was, and they brought the Sefer Torah to the shul.
And they get the sheets out.
That's a very good question, Chaim. The Heviu Sefer Torah of a Karabo. So they brought the Sefer Torah, and they read it. Now these sheets were hanging. This is a chotzer teluya, a hanging mechitza, and and it was done in Sipori. That's where Rav Yossi is the Rosh Hashiva. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, Pirsu Sakadaitach, are you telling me that they hung the sheets on Shabbos? Right? Mehechem Heviyum b'Shabbos. Where did they bring them Shabbos? I mean, if they weren't there, where are they going to bring them from on Shabbos? That's even a bigger issue.
That's also Karen.
That's also Karen. Allah, so the Gemara says, Matsu Sadinin Perusan al Gabi Emuda. They found sheets that were hanging from lines in the chutzner, and they used that as a wall and carried the Sefer Torah.
Could you wear the sheet as a cape or as a?
No. No.
And then throw it on the line?
It might be big. The fact of the matter is that you can, if it's not the problem of carrying.
So in other words, the sheets were there already. And the heter was it was a hanging wall. Okay. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Avimi. Rav Chisda said in the name of Avimi, Machseles.
New case altogether.
New case.
Reach till the bottom or did
No,
those did not. That's why it's a chutzner teluya, a hanging mechitza, because it did not. Right. Okay. So Machseles Arba, you have a mat which is 4 tefachim and a little bit more. Materas besuka mishum dofen. You can use this mat, a 4 tefachim and a little bit, and it's mater besuka mishum dofen. You can use it not as the schach, but you can use it as a wall. So how can you use it as a wall? The minimum I said before of a sukkah has to be 7 and a.
We're talking about horizontal at
Right.
first.
Well, okay. Heichi of the more how can you use this mat of 4? Hold the emso, you suspend it halfway up the wall between the schach and the ground, right? Pachos mishlosha lamata, less than 3 from the ground. So that's lovad now to the ground. Then you have the 4 of the mat. And you have the 10. So
let's say you're missing a wall,
Right.
and you have to pull it out so
Right.
that it goes past, and
No. Here's the
can it be
thing.
used as a wall and sky?
You have a crawling. So
no, you can't use it as a wall and stuff.
you have a 10 line sofa. Only thing you can possibly come up with to make a wall is a mat that's 4 tefachim and a tiny little bit.
Okay.
So you carefully measure from the ground up 2.99.
Okay.
You suspend your mat, and then you measure up to the stock. It's also 2.99.
We love it.
So you have lover down.
Lover
and you
down.
have lover
Up.
up. So magically, your 4-foot mat.
Right, it's
4
talking about
foot
bringing it
mat
down
now
to the
stretches
But can it
back.
come down from the roof?
No,
That would be a
different problem.
That's a different problem. Then you don't have a mechitza of 10 from the roof. Then you don't have a mechitza about mechitza of 10.
But it's still that should use the big one. We didn't get to that.
Okay. So the Gemara says, okay, it's a nice case, pshita, but this is an obvious halacha. I mean, we know this already. We're not telling you anything new here, no new material. So the Gemara says that there is something new. Mahu the same, chad lavad amrinan. When I might have thought that we only say the rule of lavad only once, to say between one side, lavad. Avo, trey lavad lo yamrina. Lavad, we will not say it on both sides. Kamash Malon, so Rav Chisda comes to teach us that we do say trey lavad twice. Once on the bottom and once on the top. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. I'll ask you a kasha, Mesvek. We have a brisa. The brisa says, Machseles, a mat that Shiva Umashu was 7 tfachim and a little bit. Umashu, Materas, Besuka, Mishum Dofen. You can use that mat to be mat as a, put it up and have a wall for the sukkah. Okay, so how can you do that? So you put up the mat of 7 either from the top or from the bottom, and it's within loved of the other side, and you have a wall of 10.
According to Rabbi Yossi, you could hang it.
So you see that all you can rely on is one loved, not 2. Because if you could rely on 2, then you could have put the mat in the middle and relied on loved from the top and loved from the bottom.
Yeah, well, it's talking really about a normal sukkah, which has a 10-foot ceiling, not a 10 tefach.
Not a 10 tefach ceiling. You're correct. So the Gemara answers, Kisanya ahi besukkah gedolah. So when was it taught about the mat of 7 tefachim in a big sukkah? So therefore, you have to have one lovud that makes them 7 plus the lovud makes it 10, which is a mechitza, and then you can say good asik or good achas depending on where the wall was, because you have a valid mechitza of 10 tefachim. Okay, right? Again, my kamashman one. What is this teaching us? The mishalshulen define us that you can construct walls milamala from the top to the bottom to Rabbi Yossi. Like Rabbi Yossi, and even though it's a mechitza tluya that's hanging, it's okay. Amar Rav Ami said, Pas arba umashu, a board that is 4 tfachim and a smidgen, mater besukkah, mishum dofen. You could use this board as a wall for the sukkah.
We're going back to the 4, but we're going to do it vertically.
We're going to do it vertically. Umokim law, and you put this b'mok b'pachas mishlosha tvachim samach l'dofen. You put this vertical board of 4 tvachim and a little bit within 3 of the existing wall, and now you have the kol pachas l'loved samach l'dofen keloved dummy. So the Gemara says, "My kamashmon." What's the kiddush? Ha kamashmon that samach shir meshach sukkah katana shiva. That the minimum shear of a sukkah is 7 and a mashu. Not like Rebbe, you said 8.
No, we had him up like this earlier. Rebbe says you need arba amma.
Right.
And the Chachamim said you only need 7 and a little tvachim. So
Right.
this case is a raya. The Chachamim who disagreed with Rebbe and held like Hillel that you just can stick your head torso and inside.